There's a lot happening in the news this week. Joining us via Skype to discuss the media's handling of it all is, of course, Katie Halper, host of The Katie Halper Show and co-host of Useful Idiots, a Rolling Stone podcast. Crystal left us again, Katie, so it's just the two of us, but that's okay.
She knows I'll hold down the fort from the left.
Yeah, that's right. We can always count on you for that. You're always forceful figure for that one. So, okay, let's got to start with, this was my personal favorite, which is that, so basically, the president, there was this dog that was involved in the Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi raid. Of course, everyone's like, oh, what's the dog's name? What does he look like? The president declassifies a photo of the dog. So then he tweets a meme of the dog. And Washington press corps, serious people, I used to work with these people, literally began talking about how the president is disseminating a doctored and photoshopped meme of himself presenting a Medal of Honor to a dog. These are the people charged with holding our democracy to account in the White House press corps,
Right.
Katie. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, this is incredible. So side note, by the way, it was kind of cute. My dad was like, don't worry, the dog's okay. That dog who got hurt, but he's okay. And I actually thought that, like, Trump saying a beautiful dog, a talented dog was hilarious.
Yeah.
As Trump is often funny without trying to be. I mean, I'm not making light of how atrocious he is, but that cracked me up. But yeah, the media is so often, the media that hates Trump is like, they have a real knack for focusing on the wrong things. There's so much you could critique about Trump. There's so much you could talk about when it comes to how we create figures like al-Baghdadi, which is such an important story. And the media's failure to mention that, along with the failure to mention Trump, I mean, it's not surprising that Trump doesn't say that, but that's where you could go after Trump for. You could actually go after, politicians for, or try to hold the military account or the,
Right.
intelligence media account. But of course, they're focusing on his tweeting out a dog photo. Like that's the fake news. I mean, that's the most dangerous thing that he's done. And we saw this with sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was saying you're absolutely right, which is that, look, it's a real story here is the U.S. held Baghdadi in a prison camp 10 years ago. We let him out, completely have no idea what was going on there. It's been a bipartisan failure since the Bush administration. And the story these people want to focus on is an obviously Photoshopped meme. He tweets memes all the time about a dog. That's who are charged with holding the democracy to account in the press corps.
Right. And my co-host Matt Taibbi, from my Useful Idiots podcast that I do with him, he had a great piece that kind of went over all the media's treatment of this story. And I think one of the most ridiculous ones was from the Washington Post.
Right.
Their initial headline was al-Baghdadi, austere religious scholar at helm of Islamic State, dies at 48. It made it sound like he died in his sleep.
Yeah.
And he was like a real intellectual.
Yes. Right.
Because there's so much you can go after Trump for, but they're so, it's so embarrassing that this is how they do it, because they don't want to give him credit with helping, kill this guy or have the guy commit suicide, right? They're so intent on that they are basically, on some level, whitewashing this guy. I mean, it's just absurd description. Austere religious scholar.
Yeah, it was really funny. People were tweeting memes of German art lover Hitler, dies peacefully in Berlin, 1940. I mean, you're right.
Partner.
Yeah, you're so right. It's so ridiculous. Austere. First of all, it also validates the idea that there is an element of religious scholarship within ISIS,
really
right? So even on its face, it's insane.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Well, that's actually a great point, which is how a lot of liberal media is kind of and kind of blue state, blue media and the mainstream Dems can be really Islamophobic.
Mm-hmm.
I actually had an episode of my show with this great guy, great writer and critic, Shuja Haider, who pointed out that, so many people were anti-gun people. He's not pro-gun, but, talked about that no-fly list. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah, right.
But, not pointing out that the no-fly list was based on counting people as terrorists because they had a name like Mohammed Hassan.
Mm-hmm.
And had the same name as someone who had donated to Hamas or something, so they were terrorists. Anyway, I mean, I know it maybe sounds like a tangent, but it's true. I mean, I'm glad you pointed that out because it really is true that it makes it seem like this is, consistent with Islam.
Yeah. And all right, so we got to move on to the next one. This was Crystal's favorite, so I'm repping her here, which is, so CNN has this poll. It shows Bernie Sanders at the top of the poll in New Hampshire. They wrote 4 stories about that poll. This was our friend Ryan Grimm found this. And not a single one of them had the headline about how Bernie Sanders is winning in this poll. And the best part is that one of those stories says that Pete Buttigieg is showing a strong fourth. A fourth, but a strong fourth. What the hell does strong fourth mean exactly?
Well, I have to admit, I'm impressed with that compared to Saliza, our friend who comes up on every episode, not because I'm picking on him, but just because he's so bad. He made a video about how the top 3 candidates are Warren, Biden, and Mayor Pete.
Right, of course.
So the strong fourth makes it seem like they're, downplaying it. But what is a strong fourth? He's at 10%. Sanders is twice as popular, doing twice as well. And somehow, let's focus on this is the same guy, Enton from CNN, Harry Enton, also tweeted out his own Twitter poll where he asked who was the most likely person. And the choices were Warren, Biden, Harris, someone else.
Yes. Oh, right. Someone else. Okay.
And then people voted because it was his own Twitter poll and everyone did someone else. And he was like, when he got pushback, there are only 4 options. Like, well, you could have had the top 3 and someone else, or you could have not had someone else,
Right.
It's like, it's like almost they're almost doing us a favor because it's so overt.
Yeah, I don't understand where it comes, because it literally happens here every week. Every week we have too many examples for us to pull from. And it's astounding, because how do you not write a story from your own poll that doesn't say Bernie's obviously at the top? The same thing happened today. It was an Iowa poll, New York Times, Washington Post poll that has just come out. So it comes out and it shows Elizabeth Warren at 22%, Bernie Sanders at 19%. Biden drops like a rock. He's 4th in the field behind Buttigieg. Obviously, the headline to me there is Biden emerges from, Biden, drops like a rock. Yeah. But at the same time, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren are statistically tied, basically up at the top. No mention, right? It's like Warren holds strong as Biden drops. It's like, am I losing? No. Am I crazy? Like, am I losing my mind?
It's either ignored or in trouble. And what's so interesting about the in trouble thing is that and we saw this literally the day after he held the biggest rally so far in the 2020 primary battle. He held the biggest rally, and the headline at the next day at NBC was that he's like struggling, in trouble.
Yeah.
No matter where he is in the polls, that's what's so fascinating, is he's always on the verge. He's always in crisis, according to the media. Really incredible.
It reminds me of a lot of 2016. It would be like Trump campaign, disarray, Trump. And it's like, meanwhile, it's like 10,000 people show up at a rally, 12,000 people show up at a rally, 15,000.
But the nice thing about that is at least they gave him, not nice, nice for Trump, is that they gave him so much coverage. With Sanders, it's like they try to pretend he doesn't exist. That famous time where I think MSNBC went from a Sanders speech to Trump's empty lectern as they were
empty podium, right?
Podium, yeah.
Well, that's who they are. All right, this one, you highlighted this to me. I didn't realize this. Trevor Noah was with Hillary Clinton, I think it was last night, and he was joking.
Chelsea,
he was in Chelsea, and joking about Jeffrey Epstein. He jokingly asked her, "How did you kill Jeffrey Epstein?" I want to just tee you up on that one, because this one is just so ridiculous.
Well, I thought that was incredible. It shows a couple things. One is that it's significant that Bill Clinton flew around with Epstein,
right?
And and was hanging out with Epstein both on the plane and off the plane. Now, okay, that doesn't prove that he has raped women with Epstein, young women with Epstein, but he did hang out with a rapist. And the other problem with this is that no one cares about a couple of stories, but one is Juanita Broderick's very credible rape allegations, and I interviewed her, and she's been totally ignored and marginalized for years because she was an inconvenient figure for Bill Clinton's political career. And then now she's a Trump supporter. So people, and it's this typical thing that happens a lot. You ignore someone, you don't embrace them on the left. They go to the right, and then you use the fact that they're on the right
to smear them,
delegitimize them. Yeah, smear them.
Yeah.
I very much believe her. Also, we know the story about Bern Strider, who was one of Hillary's advisors, a religious advisor, a faith advisor, who was accused of sexual harassment in 2008. I believe this was the 2008 race.
Yeah, it was on the campaign, right?
Yeah, on the campaign, yeah. And her advisor said she should fire him. She decided not to. She protected him. She kept him on. And he went on to harass other people, or allegedly harass other people at what's it called? Media Matters, where he went. Or
yeah, I remember this story.
Thing. And, where was the outrage over that? I mean, it came out after she had lost, I guess, so it wasn't relevant anymore after she lost in 2016, so people thought it wasn't relevant. But you saw people write op-ed after op-ed about Sanders' campaign because he responded to some allegations of, I don't want to downplay, it's a systemic issue, but Sanders did not shield people accused of this, did not ignore an advisor's recommendation to fire someone. And the fact that, there was nothing said by anyone. Clara Jeffrey was outraged about the Sanders story. She never said anything about Bern Strider.
Yeah, it's just, that's the thing is with this Epstein thing, this isn't funny. They had political connections to Jeffrey Epstein. This woman, she allegedly covered for Harvey Weinstein. Her assistant canceled an interview with Ronan Farrow because he was working on a story which was deeply connected to Harvey Weinstein, a political donor to Hillary and Bill Clinton. Same thing with Jeffrey Epstein and his friendship with Bill Clinton. These are well documented. They've had dinner multiple times. He's flown around on his plane. These are the questions that Trevor Noah should be asking Hillary Clinton. Nothing. Did you kill Jeffrey? As if it's relegating it to the realm of conspiracy theory. Well, it's not a conspiracy. It's not a conspiracy.
Exactly. Yeah. And that conspiracy theory allegations have been used so much. And, Hillary Clinton came up with the term vast right-wing conspiracy in the context of the Monica Lewinsky story. Now, I then and now think it was like a hypocritical way to go after Clinton. I think he did abuse his power, definitely with Lewinsky, but no one cared about that. And the people who went after him, were puritanical hypocrites having their own affairs. But I do think it's interesting that, it helps. The thing that's interesting and complicated is there was a vast right-wing conspiracy against the Clintons by people for the wrong reasons, but then they've used that to shield themselves from very valid criticism about things like ranging from Juanita Broaddrick to this.
Yeah, so when is Bill Clinton? When has Bill Clinton ever apologized? He ruined Monica Lewinsky's life. He ruined it forever.
Yeah. Oh well, you remember
he ever apologized for that?
Nothing. He said he apologized publicly, but not to her. Right. And then he played himself as the victim. He yelled at Craig Melvin.
Yeah.
He was the indignant victim, which is just incredible. When he was touring around on his book tour, that he co-wrote that book called The President is Missing.
The fiction book.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is about a president who kills whose wife is dead.
Right.
Which is interesting.
That's a weird one, man. And it's obviously just a ploy to make money. To grab. It's just, this is classic for the Clintons. But we're gonna have to leave it there, Katie. Thank you so much for joining me. Really appreciate it. We'll have more Rising for you right after this.